Hello, welcome to my dining room. This is episode 41 of the Live and Learn Knitting Podcast. My name is Anne, or Annie, and I'm coming to you from the banks of the Mississippi River in western Wisconsin. Today is Friday, June 13th, 2025, and this episode is Friday the 13th, part 4, because apparently I like to record on Friday the 13th. It's an unusual day. I am not overly superstitious, but because it comes around in an unusual rotation throughout the year, and I think there's usually 2, perhaps 3 times that it occurs, it's just something I like to observe in a cautious kind of way. I tend to make it a day where I do less. That sounds like I laze around. No, I just don't go overboard and be extravagant. Let's put it that way. I'll putter around today quite a bit. So before we get started, I would like to say thank you very much for all of the lovely comments and likes and subscribes. It really means a lot to hear your comments and the things that you're working on. And after last episode on the Lusk tee, so many of you said that you bought the pattern and we're going to start making one, and I hope it's going well for you. I've been very tempted to look for yarn to make another one. I have looked a little bit upstairs, and I thought, I just, nothing really jumped out at me for sure. And I've got some ideas, but it's not anything I need to start right now, so it's okay if it kind of ruminates for a little while and percolates, and I come up with a plan for the Lusk number 2. So where you can find me on the internet is on Ravelry. I am Creative Mind, all one word, and there is also a forum there for the podcast called Live, Learn, Knit podcast, blog, podcast forum. And if you'd like, you could join that. There's not a whole lot of chatter there, but maybe someday there will be. And then there is also a blog where I update the show notes. I'm a little behind in that, but that is livelearnknit.blogspot.com. You can email me at livelearnknit@gmail.com. And on Instagram, I am Annie P. Knits, all one word. So those are all of the ways to get in touch. And yes, it's always nice when you do. And here comes George. I just gave him a drink of milk. You'd think he'd settle down now. Maybe he just wants to be by me. Who knows? I think he just woke up from a nap. So yeah, anyway, brief episode today, low key today because of the day. And I've been busy. I don't have a lot of new to talk about. Not even wearing any knitting today, but I do have a finished object. It's an old one, but I'll talk about it because it's been sitting right out here for a while. I don't know if it was in any past episodes. Here's Georgie boy right there. Meow. He has a nice purr. I know he's off camera right now, but I've got his chin. He loves a good chin scratch. So there we go. So this is a crocheted bowl, or oh my goodness, bowl or vessel that I made several years ago. Used up one skein of a hand-dyed yarn, and I don't remember. I think it was a commercial yarn, but a hand-dyed commercial yarn. you know, of course, the non-superwash wool. Yeah, and it's crocheted, and I didn't follow a specific pattern. I don't know that I have it written up on Ravelry yet, but basically, I started in the center, and worked a slip stitch chain, or I'm sorry, a chain 6 or whatever. I think it was 4 or 6, and then crocheted 6 chain stitches into that, joined in the round, and then kept increasing every round, increasing 6 stitches every round, making basically a hexagon shape, which you go far enough and that flattens out into a circle. And then when you want your circles big enough, you just crochet, single crochet every round straight up. And when I say single crochet, I'm using American crochet terms. So yeah, just crochet round and round up. And then that's pretty much it. And I did this one in the washing machine. You can see it's a little folded on this side. I was trying to steam that out. It fits over, well, a container a little bit bigger than, I have like a cottage cheese or a yogurt container. I have just one that's like just a size bigger than that, and that's what I use to shape it on. And it stays fairly nice. And there's the non-crimpy side. So yeah, it's a good use if you have a fun multicolored skein of yarn, or solid, or leftovers. Making these felted or fold, since they're already a thing, and then you put them in the water, that's fulling, not felting. But yeah, doing that, and I just did them in, throwing it in with loads of laundry, probably several washes, and then into the dryer, hence why it's a bit crunched. But I take it out before it's completely dry and shape it. Not quite big enough to be a hat. I'd like to try and do a fez or felted type hat someday. Be fun. So that's my little finished project to share with you. And like I said, it's finished a while ago. I do have some crocheted bowls and that on my Ravelry page, because I taught a little workshop in this at our weaving guild. Maybe twice, maybe a couple times. People really liked that, and the group came up with some nice projects out of that. So that's a finished item, and I'll mention just little project updates. This is the DRK Everyday Sweater, the Andrea Mowry March to May knit along that finished without me. I didn't get done since I was working on the Lusk tee. And the last time I showed this, I had mentioned I tried it on and was trying to see if I had it long enough to split for sleeves, and I couldn't pull the back down because it was curling up on the needle. And one of you recommended sticking straight needles in, like, oh, what happened to that straight needle? Here it is. Like when they're on the cord, sticking this in here and then kind of using that as a handle or a, to under this needle, the cord, to be able to pull it down. Sort of like a suspender almost. And I thought that was a great idea. So I did it. I didn't use a knitting needle. I used the barber cords, the try-on cords, the silicone, that I don't usually like to, put all the stitches on. But I poked them through the needle, kind of about where I thought the sleeve split would be, and was able to pull the whole back down and have it lay flat then and take a look at it. And it was it was plenty deep. So that really worked well. Thank you for that great tip. I really appreciate it. I will use it again, I'm sure. So I did that, and then on Monday, it was going to be one of those things where I was going to get a lot of work done around the house, and I thought, well, I'll just sit down. It'll take me 5 minutes to do around and, get the, I tried it on, and then, knit the stitches back on and split for sleeves and get that going so that I can, just work stockinette for a while and not have to worry about measuring or anything. Well, it did not take 5 minutes. It took all morning because I, for some reason, just kept counting wrong. I don't know what was going on, but my stitch count, I had the correct number of stitches, but it was as if my markers were not in the right places, and I should have only needed, had one marker, which was my beginning of round marker for the center back, but I had one for the center front, and it wasn't in the right place. So it was throwing me off, and I didn't realize that. I'd count, and I'd get in the wrong area. So it took way longer than I expected to get everything cast. I did it a couple times, I cast off the stitches, and then I get around to the other side and I cast off the stitches. It's like, well, I don't have enough stitches left to finish the round. So obviously I would have had like one arm out here and one arm over here or something, it was not right. So it just took a lot of counting and patience. Yeah. And it's good now. It is. And so I am proceeding. The next thing I have to do is go upstairs and find the next hank of this yarn and wind it into a cake, and then work a little bit on the sleeve openings, and then try it on again and just make sure that this armhole depth in amount is a good amount for me. So yeah, hopefully I can find that skein of yarn this afternoon yet and get that wound up. So that is, and you can see that it bubbles a little bit in a couple of the increased spots, and I'm hoping that all will flatten out when I wash and block it. If not, I'm not sure what I'm going to do, but I think it will. I think, especially because this is loosely enough knit, that there's going to be some room for movement in the fibers. So that's that project. And then this project is the, that's the back, so that's the reverse, but that's nice too. This is my hot heating pad cover that I'm using the Warm Sand headband stitch pattern and just modifying the width and length, etc., etc. But what I wanted to mention, it's gotten a little longer since last time. I haven't had a whole lot of time for knitting. I've been busy out in the yard, and the pool opened, so there's all that going on. A lot of swimming, which has been nice. So I've gotten a little more done on this. But I didn't mention last time, and I wanted to let you know that this I can enter, be part of the modification make-along that is happening on the Not Quite Enough Yarn forum on Ravelry, and Leslie in the UK, her podcast, Not Quite Enough Yarn, she is running a make-along now through the middle of October. And basically it can be any project that you are changing, not not just changing colors or not just changing yarns, but if you've changed the stitch count because you have a different gauge, or if you're doing a different sleeve length or a different neckline, or like this, you know, taking that rectangle, I made it wider and making it longer. I'll be seaming it up the sides rather than just seaming it at the ends. So it's it qualifies for that. So if you're interested in that, take a look at her forum on Ravelry and her podcast. They're very entertaining. Her latest one, the May podcast, talks about the make-along, gives you some of the details. So yeah, that's this. And it's funny because it looks a bit wonky, but that's just, I think, how it might just be a trick of the yarn coloring. Anyway, I'm enjoying this. This is Madeline Tosh Pashmina in the Baltic colorway, and I had started a scarf in this and didn't like it. I mean, I liked it, but I didn't need a scarf. This is something that I need. So the rest of this episode, which is not going to be very long, and I'm going to try not to whinge on too much, I thought maybe that I would knit for a bit while we talk. I know you're probably knitting or crocheting or doing something creative, and I usually don't get a chance to because I'm looking at my notes and I'm holding things up, and so yeah, I thought, well, we can chat just a bit. And what I wanted to chat about briefly is not really lack of knitting mojo, because I wanted to knit, but I was just not finding satisfaction in anything I was working on. After finishing that project, the Lusk Tea, which again was a project that I devoted all my time to in May, and I didn't really do much else. It was not a letdown, but just sort of a void. Then I just really couldn't figure out what to do next that would be as entertaining, as engrossing, and yet I wasn't really ready, I think, for something that took up a lot of brain space, used up, you know, that maybe I did just want something relaxing, like all of this endless stockinette that I'll have now on the body of this sweater. Wanted something easy, but what? So these two projects have kind of filled the bill. George is back. And that shawl that I showed you last time, the Close to You shawl that I'm putting the beads on, that's a little more complex of a project. But yeah, I just wasn't sure, because part of me wanted to start a bunch of new things, you know. And of course, I had to talk myself out of that, because I have many projects that I need to finish first. Because then if I started something new, I'd go back to these regardless, and then the new thing would languish, and it just would be another thing to add to the pile. So I'd like to, get some things finished. And I think I wanted something that was instant gratification. And I wasn't really, these are both going to take a little bit of time, especially now when I don't have, I have a little bit less time with all the outside activities and that to be working on them. But I just wondered if you feel like that, especially when you finish a project. Do you feel a sort of cast adrift is a good way, I think, of putting it, where you're not quite sure what to do next? What do you do about it? I almost thought about going and buying yarn. I surely don't need to do that. But I thought, what do people do about those kinds of things to inspire their creativity? Or George is knocking things off the table. Or, just get going again. enjoying it again, you know. Yeah, I just didn't want it to feel like a chore or to feel like it was not important. I mean, both of these things are kind of winter or cold weather based. So part of me wanted to cast on another summertime, summer weight sweater. Or, you know, I could do another one of those little headbands. Oh, sorry, a bird just hit the window. Or it flew away, but it's... We both looked up, George and I. You should see the look on his face. But yeah, I thought about doing another summer thing right away. And I might have a summer thing started. I'm not sure. I have to go and dig through the projects. So I just felt a little unsettled in my knitting, and it kind of surprised me. Again, I think it was partially due to the fact that that was all I worked on for mostly a month, and I don't usually knit that way. So I'm happy to be back knitting again and working on projects, different projects. I almost signed up for the next test knit that Rebecca had because it was the sweater that I do want to knit. The red one, the Firth is the new, it'll be out this fall. And that's the one I really wanted to do. And I had the form all filled out until it came down to the question of what yarn would you use? And that's when I went upstairs and I was digging in the stash and I thought, I can't do this. I can't commit. I just, because I said in the last episode, I'm not doing it again. Not doing it again so soon. I need to not have deadlines and pressure and all that. But that's the one I wanted to knit. And then I really had to talk to myself and say, Anne, you can buy that sweater pattern when it comes out. You don't have to knit it right now, this minute. You've got other things to work on. It's hard talking to yourself sometimes, isn't it? Oh, I tell you, yeah. It's hard being a grown-up and being responsible and all that. Disciplined and everything, so yeah. So I will happily knit the Firth when it comes out in October. I think it's October or November. And until then, I've got plenty of other projects for sure. So, I think that's all I have to say for today. I hope you're finding your knitting is bringing you fulfillment. That's a good word, I think. In whatever way you need it to be fulfilling, if it's just something that's grabbing your attention, if it's something that is, keeping you warm, keeping your mind occupied, and all of that, giving you a challenge, a mental challenge. Those are all good things. So let me know how your projects are going, and if you have these kinds of challenges too, also, and what you do about them. And yeah, just enjoy the weekend that's coming up. We're almost to the solstice. And it's always funny because the first thing you hear at the solstice, well, the days are going to get shorter now. It's like, well, yeah, but not for, we won't notice that for quite a while. Enjoy summer. Gee, it just started. So, and actually, in the Wheel of the Year calendar, they call it midsummer. the solstice. They consider that midsummer. They consider the May 1st the start of summer. So, which, it all depends on where you live, really, of course. And different parts of the world have a little bit different seasons. So, yeah. It's all relative, really. But it's going to, I don't know what it's going to be like here this weekend, but there's plenty to do, always. Good things and chore things. So I hope that if you have good things and chore things, that you enjoy them all and find some sunshine if you can. The sun is out right now, but it's been raining, and I see the water is still glistening on the leaves of the trees and shrubbery out the window. So it might be too wet to do very much yard work this afternoon. But we'll find something to do, right? Hopefully it's something enjoyable, or a task we've been putting off for too long, because that will lead to something enjoyable if we finish it, right? Okay, take care, everyone. Be well. Enjoy your projects. Bring the sunshine, all the good things. Okay, take care. Bye-bye.